You get acquired, as many students don't know, but I'm sure you do in your practice, there's often founders who stay on for a certain period of time, they have clawback agreements, they have all sorts of things. But you stayed on for 5 years, which I would guess, not knowing your paperwork, was longer than you were legally required. I would also imagine at that price, you had enough money in your pocket to have different choices.
Yeah, so so this is an interesting segue into what I do today because we had no mentors at the time. So we built this company with no real mentors helping us. We sold it idiotically with no real mentors helping us. And there were two huge outcomes of that. One was the 4-year lockup, which we had no idea was
You had a
out of
4-year
our-
lockup? So a lockup,
4-year.
for those watching at home and the
Yeah.
students, is a agreement.
Essentially, you commit to stay in the acquiring company for at least 4 years in our case. Later I would learn as an investor that 1 or 2 years is sort of the standard. And if I had anybody negotiating for me, they would have known that. And that was actually a handshake. So there was no legal agreement to stay 4 years because of the form of the merger that we did. It wasn't at that time. It's a technicality, but it wasn't legal to do that. So we just shook hands and said we'll stay for 4 years, and of course that's what you do. It's part of the exit compensation that you sort of agree that you'll do that. The other big lesson I learned about mentors much later was that about 5 or 6 years later, the CEO of the acquiring company said, "Hey David, you guys know you left half the money on the table? We were willing to pay twice as much." And that was, especially given
Were
what
you
happened with their
drinking
stock.
heavily at the time? I mean, how does someone just volunteer that he took advantage?
Yeah,
or did well?
enough time had gone by. We had become friends. Look, we did really well. We had no complaints. But he said, look, if you guys had had somebody on your side of the table that really understood these deals, you would have doubled your exit value, or at least improved it by a substantial amount. In Techstars, which we'll get to later, where we provide mentorship, I've seen exit values doubled consistently by a mentor. So what's a mentor worth? In 5 minutes on a phone call, millions of dollars quite often.
No, I wasn't much of a lawyer, but I can tell you that 4-year lockup is a long period of time.
Well, I didn't know that because our lawyers didn't tell us that, and we didn't have great mentors who had done a lot of these deals. So the number one lesson I teach entrepreneurs today is surround yourself with experienced people who've been there and done that in whatever situation you're in.
Been there, done that. Very important.